welcome to this short talk about open licensing. In this session, we will look at what licenses are and how they are traditionally used to manage rights in intellectual property. We'll contrast traditional exclusive rights holding with open licensing, which distributes permissions widely and non-exclusively, while imposing certain requirements on people who use the material. We present some examples showing how this can allow remixing material from different sources in a new form and offer some guidance on online tools and further reading. Without being especially technical, open licenses are a core part of the infrastructure for open research. They provide the legal foundation for forms of sharing which go beyond simply gaining access to material. Open licenses give recipients the right to make use of the shared material in some potentially innovative ways. First, let's set the open aspect aside for a moment and talk about what licenses do. They are legal agreements which give someone permission to do something which they wouldn't have the right to do otherwise. Think of a hunting, fishing, or driving license. A patent is not dissimilar in that, if granted, it gives the applicant a temporary monopoly on their invention. However, unlike a driving license or a patent, contemporary copyrights don't need to be applied for. They automatically come into force when a work that qualifies for protection is created. Almost anything that is written down or recorded is subject to copyright, but crucially, it is the creative expression that is copyrighted. Ideas can't be copyrighted, and if you want to protect a method, you'll have to seek a patent. It's worth mentioning that, typically, in the UK, if work is created for an employer, then the copyright belongs to the employer, although academic writing is an exception. A license can be issued by whoever owns a patent or copyright to allow another party to make limited use of the patented invention or to publish a copyrighted work. Some traditional alternatives to licensing are to transfer copyright to the publisher, possibly in exchange for royalty payments, or to sell a patent. Against this backdrop, open licensing does something pretty different. These licenses permit anyone to do certain things which would otherwise have been an exclusive right. Depending on the preferences of authors and publishers and the terms of their selected license, this may include copying the work without limitation, selling those copies, and creating and sharing modified derivative works. Most open licenses impose some additional requirements, typically requiring copies and modified versions to make a clear attribution to whoever owns the original copyright. Licenses may allow people to create new derivative works based on the original, perhaps a film adaptation, for example, or a remix of contents from multiple sources, and I'll come to an example of that shortly. Some licenses require that any derivatives be released under the same terms as the licensed work that they derive from. This is a so-called viral clause. Software licenses may impose the requirement that the source code for any derived versions be made available at no cost, alongside the compiled, runnable software. Perhaps the most common place for academics to encounter open licenses is in the context of open access publishing. While the concept of open access puts getting access to material front and center, open licenses permit people to do more than just download and read. Popular open licenses include the Creative Commons Attribution or CC BY license and the CC Attribution Share Alike or CC BY SA license. These licenses permit republication and the creation of derivative works, requiring that the original author be acknowledged. CC BY SA's Share Alike clause additionally requires that the person reusing or adapting the material must share their derived work under the terms of the CC BY SA license, hence Share Alike. Where this gets particularly exciting is if two works use the same or compatible licenses, say Wikipedia, which is published under CC BY SA, and an open access journal article under CC BY, then the contents can be combined either by including excerpts of the research work in Wikipedia with attribution in line with the license requirement and a citation as a matter of good encyclopedic practice, or by remixing the selected material in new publications. It is worth mentioning another offering from Creative Commons, the CC0 copyright waiver, which is not a license. Instead, it is used to transfer copyright and other associated rights to the public domain. In principle, this can facilitate reuse in settings where attribution would be cumbersome. CC0 is used, for example, by the European Commission for raw data resulting from instrument readings, bibliographic data, and other metadata. The range of available licensing options speaks to the fact that there is no one-size-fits-all license. If you're just getting started thinking about open licenses, it could be useful to have a look at the Creative Commons License Chooser and the human-readable summaries of their licenses. Before publishing work online with an open license, it's wise to be sure you have the right to do so. The Brooks IP policy is linked below, and where needed, members of the Knowledge Exchange and Impact Team in RIE can assist with IP questions. Email rieinquiries@brooks.ac.uk. For help with open licenses in relation to open access publishing, you can check out the university website, and the open access team at the library is also there to help you. Email them at openaccess@brooks.ac.uk. As indicated above, there's no one-size-fits-all license. Even though CC BY is widely used in open access publishing, Punctum Books, for example, have made an argument, also linked below, for using the more restrictive CC BY NC license on their humanities monograph publications. This license permits derivatives, but forbids commercial use of these derivatives. For those who want to learn more about these topics, here are some books on open licenses and adjacent topics, which are themselves available as open access. The first one is Peter Suber's book called Open Access, and the second one is by Lucy Montgomery et al., Open Knowledge Institutions, Reinventing Universities, both of those published by MIT Press.